The first raise felt different than expected. After years of working toward a higher income, seeing a larger number arrive in the bank account should have brought a lasting sense of financial progress. Yet within a few months, the feeling had faded. A slightly nicer apartment seemed reasonable. Eating out became more frequent because time felt more valuable. Subscriptions quietly multiplied. And small conveniences that once felt like luxuries gradually became everyday expectations. Looking back, nothing appeared extravagant on its own. Yet the account balance at the end of each month looked surprisingly familiar. Many people interpret this as a lack of discipline, but behavioral economics suggests something more interesting is happening. The phenomenon is known as lifestyle inflation, and it explains why increasing income does not automatically translate into increasing wealth. Lifestyle inflation occurs when spending rises alongside earnings until the financial gap between income and expenses remains almost unchanged. Human beings adapt remarkably quickly to improved circumstances. What once felt exciting soon becomes ordinary because the brain constantly resets its expectations. This process, often called hedonic adaptation, is responsible for much more than purchasing habits. It influences how we experience success, comfort, and satisfaction, creating a moving target that is difficult to permanently reach. The psychological reward from a larger paycheck fades faster than most people expect, while the recurring expenses attached to that paycheck remain long after the excitement disappears. Imagine someone earning $3,000 per month who spends $2,700, leaving $300 for saving or investing. After receiving a 20% raise, income increases to $3,600. Logically, savings could increase significantly, yet reality often unfolds differently. A better car payment replaces an older vehicle. Food delivery becomes more frequent. Premium streaming services feel affordable, and weekend spending expands almost without conscious planning. Monthly expenses gradually climb to $3,300, leaving savings almost unchanged despite the higher salary. The raise was real, but its long-term financial impact became surprisingly small because expenses quietly absorbed the difference. This pattern rarely develops through one dramatic purchase. Instead, it grows through dozens of decisions that each seem reasonable in isolation. A slightly more expensive phone contract, higher quality clothing, upgraded travel, frequent coffee purchases, additional digital subscriptions, and larger housing costs rarely feel irresponsible individually. Together, they reshape an entire financial system. Lifestyle inflation is therefore less about individual spending choices and more about the cumulative effect of small upgrades becoming permanent obligations. Behavioral economists describe this as a shifting reference point. Instead of comparing life to where it was a few years ago, people compare their present lifestyle to those around them or to their newest standard of living. Once expectations move upward, maintaining that level begins to feel necessary rather than optional. A restaurant meal that once celebrated a special occasion gradually becomes an ordinary weekday habit. The purchase has not changed, but its psychological meaning has completely transformed. Social comparison strengthens this cycle even further. Modern technology exposes people to carefully curated images of lifestyles that often represent highlights rather than daily reality. Promotions, vacations, home renovations, luxury products, and expensive experiences appear constantly across social media platforms. Even without consciously competing, repeated exposure slowly changes perceptions of what feels normal. Spending decisions begin responding not only to personal needs, but also to invisible social expectations. Mathematics reveals why this matters so much over long periods. Consider two people who both receive identical raises throughout their careers. The first increases spending by nearly the entire amount of every raise. The second allows spending to rise modestly, but directs the remaining increase toward long-term investments. During the first few years, their lifestyles appear similar, and the differences in financial position remain small. Over decades, however, compound growth begins separating their outcomes. The second person's investments continue generating returns that themselves produce additional returns, while the first person's higher consumption creates comfort in the present but leaves fewer productive assets for the future. The difference emerges not because one earned dramatically more, but because one consistently preserved a portion of each income increase before adapting to a new lifestyle. This illustrates an important distinction between income and wealth. Income measures the flow of money entering your life, while wealth represents the assets that continue working even when you are not actively earning. Increasing income can improve financial opportunities, but building wealth depends largely on how much of that increased income escapes immediate consumption. Without that separation, higher earnings simply support a more expensive version of the same financial position. History offers similar lessons. During periods of strong economic growth, consumer spending has often expanded alongside wages. Access to easier credit, growing confidence, and rising expectations encouraged households to commit to larger recurring expenses. When economic conditions later weakened, those fixed obligations became difficult to sustain. The issue was not necessarily excessive luxury, but rather reduced financial flexibility. Larger commitments leave less room to adjust when circumstances change unexpectedly. The opposite approach does not require rejecting every improvement in quality of life. Lifestyle inflation itself is not inherently harmful. Enjoying the benefits of hard work is a natural part of financial progress. The challenge arises when every increase in earnings is immediately matched by an equal increase in obligations. Financial resilience grows when income rises faster than permanent expenses, creating room for savings, investment, and unexpected events without constant pressure. One practical mental shift is to treat raises differently from existing income. Instead of viewing additional earnings as money already available for spending, they can first be viewed as an opportunity to strengthen future financial stability. Even allocating part of each raise before adjusting daily habits changes the long-term mathematics considerably. Because people adapt to lifestyles quickly, directing money toward investments before adapting often feels easier than reducing spending later. Ultimately, the lifestyle inflation trap is not built on greed or poor character. It emerges from predictable psychological patterns that affect nearly everyone. The human brain naturally adapts to comfort, constantly recalibrates expectations, and quietly normalizes yesterday's luxuries into today's necessities. Understanding this tendency does not eliminate it, but it makes it visible. Once the pattern becomes visible, financial decisions become less about chasing ever-changing standards of living and more about intentionally deciding which improvements genuinely increase well-being and which simply increase recurring costs. Over time, that awareness can create a meaningful difference, not because higher income guarantees wealth, but because resisting automatic lifestyle expansion allows more of each financial milestone to become a foundation for the next one.